Welcome, everybody, to the Sentinels of Liberty podcast. It is Redbeard, your host, and today we are going to have a couple different things that I really want to take an opportunity to kind of mull through and really take an evaluation at this current administration. Some of the things that have really come up that, in my mind, really kind of sullies or really brings an air of culpability. But before we get to that, just a couple things, some house, some issues or things that I'm working on in house. I am trying to get some intro stuff, a little bit more production value. So please feel free to just kind of hang in there and bear with me. I'm working through a couple things, but hopefully the end result is going to be a little bit better production. It's going to be a little bit better setup with a little bit of time here and there. I'm going to start figuring a few things out. Also, another thing that I also want to kind of put out there is if you guys have not checked out Tom Edlum's podcast over at the Blue Collar Breakdown, he does a really good job of explaining economics and mulling over a few different issues pertaining to economics and so many different things that he really provides insight to. So I highly recommend going and checking out his podcast and giving him a like, giving him a subscribe, maybe even sharing some of the stuff he does. He typically goes live on Wednesdays, I believe, around like 7:30. But I will put the some of the notes as to when he's live and when he goes live down in the comments and maybe even the description down below, so you guys can go check him out and see what he has to say about the economic environment in the United States. So, without further ado, that was all of my chores, all of my laundry, all the things that I had to get done. So let's kind of jump into this here. Needless to say, it has been fairly tumultuous the past couple of months with a variety of different things that are going on that I think has really kind of aggravated the point of view that people have on the current administration. A lot of people went out and they voted for Trump, hoping that there was going to be some type of positive change and that there was going to be a lot of really good things coming down the pike. We were promised a lot of different things by Trump and by not just him, but by many of his appointees. And a lot of the rhetoric it is that they had explained pertaining to things like Epstein, things like war, things like not sending more weapons to Ukraine or other places, and so on and so forth. And I think there's a picture that's starting to become painted, and I think that what we're starting to see as time goes on is we're starting to see some people's um, optimism, I think, is starting to fade a little bit, and I think that this is also not really light or transient either. I don't think it's over whimsical things. I think it's over very serious things, things that when you run on a platform of bringing solutions to these things, and not only just the things that I've talked about, but many other issues. And not only are you not seemingly wanting to either fulfill those things anymore, but are just laying them to the wayside altogether, uh, it really does evoke questions, and it really does beg the question of, is there accountability? Does anybody actually care? Is there actually an America First style of agenda? And if there is, like, what is that actually supposed to look like? Um, a couple of different things that we really have to look at. Um, is in the sphere of the Epstein documents, the Kennedy documents, and several other types of documents that they had talked about. But I think the big one that really hits hardest is the Epstein client list and the documents and the investigations that are surrounding this particular issue. And honestly, really, I think when we talk about accountability and we talk about follow through, and I want to start with this one because this is a very important one in my mind. I'm sure it is for you guys. But all we've gotten since the start of this administration is it's on my desk, it's being worked on. we're doing investigations, we're doing all the footwork, we're doing this and we're doing that. And then you had the binder brigade of all of these, these influencers that, came out, and they had the secret binder filled with all of the information, which to be fair, I think a lot of people called crap on. And not because of the fact that there wasn't information on there, but what was in there supposedly was stuff that most people already knew, and the stuff that you couldn't see or that you didn't know was redacted. So it was kind of pointless to some degree to even have this charade, this parade of acting like you've actually gone and done something. It was really kind of a weightless gesture. And so even after that, we still had this thing of kicking the can down the road. I'm reviewing it. I'm going through all the information, et cetera, et cetera. And then from two people, and you guys know exactly who I'm talking about, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, these two guys who came out and they talked about the intelligent asset links. They talked about the list. They talked about so many different things that would be so damning if all of this information came out. And now they not only 180-degree flip-flopped, but they've basically brushed it under the rug. It's amazing to me that you have these guys that they have all of this bluster, and in my mind, that's what I find it being, honestly, at this point, and I'm sure a lot of people do, is it's bluster. It was highly electable language. People really liked it. The once they got into their positions of power, that was it. The principles were gone. The sentiments were gone. Didn't really matter. In my mind, I feel like they rode the wave as long as they could, and that was it. And it's not just them. I mean, I'm not trying to be super harsh here, but Bondi is practically useless. I mean, I'm pretty sure she spent more time in front of a Fox News camera than she has been doing her job, and that's. I wish that was kind of an exaggeration to some degree, but I think that there's an air of almost truth to it. Bondi is worthless, and I think what was one of the most damning moments in my mind happened just recently when you had reporters sitting at the long desk or the long table with Trump, his administration, and many others, and they asked him about the Epstein list. They're asking him, a question specifically pertaining to Epstein, and it's like Trump was just annoyed. Like, are we really still talking about him? Like I thought we were over this already. It's like, dude, like, this is a big deal. Like, you ran on this. You ran on bringing justice to these people, these pedophiles, these absolute abusive piles of trash, and which have numerous connections around the globe, is what is insinuated by these documents, and heavily insinuated at that. Notwithstanding, I believe it was Alex Costa. I think that's the guy's proper name. He testified saying that there was there was forms of intelligence links to Epstein, that Epstein was an asset, which is why there was a sweetheart deal that was made. And we're just going to brush this under the rug. There's a lot of people that want to just like go with the flow and let it be brushed under the rug. And it's we've still got to wait. There's still time. Trust the plan. We've got to do this. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous in my mind that you have people that are not only trying to shift all of the blame, seemingly. There's some people that are trying to give all the blame to Pam Bondi, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, but they're trying to omit any form of responsibility or culpability, not only to the greater administration who was overseeing this, but in like mind, also wants to try and fully omit any culpability of responsibility or responsibility, I should say, to Trump. Like, this is Trump's administration. There is a structure to this, and he appointed these people to do a job. He has responsibility. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you like that or not. That is just the plain truth. And he went to answer that question, he didn't even care about it anymore. And I think that is incredibly damning considering the multitude of different things that have occurred that have really raised the ire of questioning pertaining to not only Trump himself, but the administration, the people within his administration, and many of the things that seem to be just fractured, falling apart and forgotten because it's inconvenient. Here we come back to a realm to where these things are inconvenient. So I'm going to take a moment here and just look through the comment section, and then I want to kind of shift the conversation to a few other relevant items because I do think that we are going to see a trend through here. Let's see here. Hey, everybody. Learn me something. Great to see you. Mark, Centerline Systems. Awesome to see you as well. Chuck, great to have you in the house, brother. Ground Fog, awesome to have you here. Thank you, everybody who's here right now for joining, and I hope to see some more people drop in as time goes on. Really, really appreciate you guys stopping in and supporting the show. And Mark, you brought up a really good point. They sold their souls. Yes, they certainly did. And it's kind of interesting to see what the going rate for souls is nowadays. It's one of those questions that I don't know that I necessarily want the answer to, but it is pretty sad. It's very, very sad. His response to that reporter was the same as insulting each and every American to their faces. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is just this idea of just kicking. I don't want the responsibility. Are we not done and over this already? Like, I've got more important things to do. It's one of those things that just really, like, my goodness, it's one of the it's one of the most vile and disgusting issues that we face, not only as Americans, but I mean, my goodness, I mean, how far does this even extend? Who does it implicate? Who is, where do these tendrils go? It, the fact that it is being so, like, they're so readily trying to just throw this under the bus is so damning in and of itself. The actions speak for themselves. And, and you still have people that are like, oh, this is 64D chess. We haven't seen the real outcome. There's a plan. We got to trust the plan. Dude, I'm here to tell you, like, it's one of those things to where if there is a plan, I'm here to tell you this. If you're going to say talk about the start of that plan, it's probably better not to just push pedophiles and their associates under the rug and just ignore it like it never happened, because we're talking about thousands of children and many others that were at the end of these actions that are absolutely abhorrent and despicable. This is not something you just simply ignore. It's not something you simply put under the rug. This is something that was run on and was mandated. We need to get to the bottom of this. And all of the testimonies, all of the evidence, all of the different things that not only did not suggest that he committed suicide, but also that there were numerous lists, there was numerous names, and so many other factors to this, and we just all have to forget about it. I wonder where we've seen this before. It's almost like COVID was the exact same thing, to where all the damage was done, and we're supposed to just turn away and forget that ever happened. It's absolutely astounding to me that this is the path that this administration wants to take. And it's one of many situations that I think is just amplified by the absolute arrogance that we see of these people. I'm going to go through some comments here. David Andert, great to see you. Happy to have you here. Learn me something. There's no excuse for the lack of follow through, whether fear or being bought off. There's no excuse. 100%. Yeah. Where are the men of principle? Where are the women of principle that rode this high horse into their positions, saying that we will bring change? Well, you know what? Your change is garbage. That's all you bring is absolute hot garbage. You are absolute liars at this point. You're unprincipled buffoons that got a vote because you said so many of the right things. And it's absolutely disgusting to me. Even the possibility of using evidence as leverage is immoral, dude. I mean, where does it end? Where does it end? Um, and then centerline systems here, real quick. If they're using info as leverage, I'll throw this guy up here real quick. Um, Makes he them just as guilty and evil as those who visited the island, dude. You guys are freaking nailing it in the comments right now. 100%. Why? And it's just astonishing to me, as I had seen somebody point out earlier today, or it might have been yesterday. Pam Bondi's sitting here and talking about, videos, graphic videos of abuse that is occurring, and I'm kind of minding what I'm saying here because I don't know how sensitive the algorithm is, but there's videos, very graphic videos of abuse that's occurring, right? And it becomes one of those things to where it's like, okay, so you say that there's thousands of hours of video. You're telling me you don't know any of the people. There's nothing actionable. There's no people that you can identify and arrest in the action of these videos. You're going to sit here and tell me you saw all the videos, and there's not you don't know any of the people. You have not identified any of the people in these videos. You have no idea. Like that. So what you're saying is none of it happened. The crimes don't exist. Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years for no reason. It didn't happen. Hell, at this rate, I'm surprised that they didn't even say that the entire island didn't exist, unless I missed the memo on that. I mean, this is absolutely freaking ridiculous. And this is what we are supposed to accept as the American people. This is the type of leadership that I don't even want to say the word leadership. We have no leadership right now as it currently stands, in my humble opinion. If they're going to go this far to try and convince us all the things that they said existed, that they have evidence for, all of these videos, and it doesn't exist. Make it make sense. Really, like, make this make sense. And sit there and try and rationalize that in your own mind, and you're probably going to have your mind explode. There's no sense to any of this whatsoever. All that being said, and this is a conversation that I think many people have gone over, so I don't want to harp it too much. But all that being said, there are so many questions, and I personally think the fact that they're not putting any of this out now leaves so many questions and ires of suspicion upon each and every single one of the people that oversaw this, that said that they were going to get to the bottom of it, that now just say that it never happened. Like, you are all, in my mind, so incredibly suspect that nothing of what you say has any credibility. And quite frankly, if I was a world leader and I was looking at the type of behavior over here, and I'm not saying that world leaders might not be on there, but all I'm saying is, if I was from the outside looking in, I would have to ask myself, can I even negotiate with these people? Can I make a deal with these people? Can I even have diplomacy with these people if they're willing to cover up some of the most egregious and abhorrent acts ever known to humanity? I'm sure that question's being raised in a lot of places. Um, it's just reprehensible. That was a huge one recently. It's no surprise that in and around this time that they decide to just sweep all this under the rug. Who comes right back to the White House? Wonderful Bibi Netanyahu. And what happens around the same time that he also comes back to the White House? I guess we're just going to continue funding Ukraine. And we're going to continue dumping more money into the Israeli military and to the Israeli government. And I suppose that we're just going to continue doing the same old form of business that we have been. It's amazing. This is Netanyahu's third time being here, and it almost seems like he shows up at like such a fever pitch of a moment. And then it's like all of a sudden there's just a deviation. These same people that told you that they were going to expose these people attributed to the Epstein list are the same people that said no more wars. We're not getting involved in wars. Well, we're still bombing Somalia. We bombed Iran. We said that we weren't going to fund Ukraine like a week ago anymore, and then before you know it, now we're back to funding Ukraine. We have funded and supported and propped up the Israeli government. And it's amazing because every time Netanyahu seems to come into our capital, our national capital, it almost seems like there's a cause and effect that leads us to more conflict in the Middle East and subsequently more funding to Israel. And we are left in the dust once again. So it's not just Ukraine, it's Israel too. And there's a huge rabbit hole that we can go down on Israel, but I only have so much time this evening. And that is a conversation, hopefully, on Saturday can be better fleshed out in a way that I feel is only appropriate when I have Scott Horton on the show. Because Scott Horton has written many books about this relationship, the wars in the Middle East, and he wrote the book Provoked, that is pertaining to Russia-Ukraine. He's fleshed this out miraculously, and but it's always amazing. It's always amazing. As soon as Netanyahu shows up, there's always a shift in policy. There's always something that changes. I mean, look at what happened in another huge contention, not just the war side of it, but look at what happened with speech. We don't like that language. That language is hurtful. How dare people protest us? Oh, this is America. We have the right to say things. We have the right to protest. We have the right to buy or sell to whomever it is that we do or don't want to buy or sell to. And we're not beholden to Israeli law. We're beholden to U.S. law. The things that pertain to the U.S., it's not for you to come in here and tell us what to do. And the fact that we have government officials that seemingly are more beholden to the Israeli government at this point than they are their own constituents and the taxpayers that live here should really also tell you something. As a matter of fact, I believe it was, what was her name? I believe it was it Pamela Bruce who was giving an interview, and she said, the United States is the greatest nation in the world, next to Israel, of course. And you have Ted Cruz, and then you have so many of these other people that seemingly put the American people, the people that they're supposed to support, to the back burner. I mean, this isn't just conjecture. It's not just me saying this. It's not just my opinion. There is a pattern of this. There's actually decades worth of pattern that goes with this. And it has nothing to do with being hateful or disgusted or whatever the case is towards any particular individual or people or whatever the case is. It's simply looking at what the patterns are. And the patterns are extremely damning. It's almost as if our government doesn't even work for us. It's almost as if they're beholden to so many other people other than us, and we become last, even though we are the people allegedly, supposedly, that put them in their positions. But it's okay. We'll continue sending weapons to Ukraine and telling the Ukrainians that they can win a war, that they clearly, that Ukraine themselves, high-ranking level, high-level officials in Ukraine, Kirill Budanov, who is the spy chief of Ukraine, has specifically said, I believe it was either this week or last week, we cannot win on the ground. But yet we are still selling them the idea that they can win, that they can beat Russia militarily. and we make money off of it. I mean, the hypocrisy that we're seeing in this administration, and I haven't even touched on a few other things yet, is insane to me. It's absolutely insane. These people aren't even hiding it anymore. And look, it's not just simply just Trump. It's not simply just Pamela Bruce. It's not look, it's all of these people together, all of these people that talked about America first and MAGA and all of these, pro-America, like America first things. We have become so America last at this point that they tell you to your face in numerous ways that you are unimportant, that other people in other countries are more important than you, and that's where we're going to take your tax dollars and put that. But yet these countries are so strong that they can stand on their own, so they don't need our funding. But they need our funding. Like the amount of circular talk that occurs is so staggering to me. And we live in such a vacuum of propaganda and gaslighting that it's unbelievable. Never in the many years that I grew up, as a child, obviously we all go through those years. But the point that I'm trying to make is never growing up did I ever figure that we would be in a situation to where we've basically been sold out, and it really begs the question, and I asked this before last Saturday, what kind of people do we want to be? Who do we want to be? Who do we aspire to be? And we have to figure that question out. We have to answer that question. We have to start becoming that people. And one of the best things that or points that I had heard, I wish I could remember the podcast that I was listening to this week, but they had mentioned something to the extent of localizing liberty, and how when you localize liberty, you create a situation that becomes so fruitful and so highly filled with potential that nothing else really begins to matter that much anymore. And I do believe that community, localizing liberty, that is our way forward. That is going to be our breadbasket, so to speak. That is going to be our land of milk and honey, if you will. This is our way forward. Because clearly we have a larger apparatus. We have an empire. Let's be honest about this. We have an empire. And we clearly act like an empire. So we have to start localizing liberty, because these people really, they will tell you everything you want to hear, and they don't have to fulfill any of it. Part of that is because there's not enough of us that are going forth and holding their feet to the fire. So we have to change the way that we are in order to find the outcome that we want. If we want more liberty, we have to start acting in a manner that is going to help us secure more liberty. That's pertaining to the funding in the war front. I mean, it is absolutely abhorrent what has been taking place. Absolutely blown to pieces. No more war? Forget that. There's too much money in war. There's too much exploitation. There's too many other things. And I haven't even gotten, again, this is a conversation I'm hoping that we'll be able to flesh out a lot more on Saturday. I haven't even gotten to the mercenaries and the IDF soldiers that have come forward, and so many other people that have blatantly just said, slaughter at these food rationing sites, slaughtering Palestinians, no regard for their lives whatsoever, none. Regardless of how you view that conflict, there is so many criminal acts that are occurring, like abhorrent criminal acts that people just want to look away from. And, people take this idea of well, it's not our problem, we should just ignore it. The problem of it is it is our problem because we're funding it. We are funding it. That's where your money goes. It's the same thing with Ukraine. We are funding them to go drag their own people off the streets, to beat them and throw them via press gang out on the front lines to a war that they can't win. We are funding that. And my conscience tells me that that is absolutely disgusting. I don't want my money going there. I hate the fact that I have so little control right now over where my money goes, and that's one of those places. And I barely touched the surface on this. So I'm going to go through some comments here because I see that there's been a couple responses. They say no files, case closed, then nothing for you. Submits Trump for Nobel Prize. Comes here for all the red carpet treatment, praise, and money we can provide. Dude, you summed up the whole trip perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. You just a paragraph. They said it aloud and proud at that. Now yeah, dude, Mark, you're killing it, 100%. On fire. I don't know. Maybe I am tonight. We'll see. And then Chuck, they unironically say "mega," not the naughty word. Um, yes, Trump has said it. Yeah, I've actually heard him say it. It's crazy. It is absolutely insane. It is so crazy that we are subsidizing any of the things that have nothing to do with our country at all. And quite honestly, like, don't even get me on a rant about subsidies to begin with, because you know me, I'm a big proponent of maybe we should let things fail and see what happens where that goes. But yeah, no, it is insane what we subsidize, what we fund, and yeah, I mean, what a world we live in right now. Thomas Edlam, great to have you on, brother. I really appreciate having you on. Horton's Law: presidents only keep their bad promises. I mean, it certainly seems to be the most consistent ones that they keep, right? It's almost as if um, the bad promises. It's almost as if the bad promises really are a lot more fruitful. It's almost like they have a higher payout, only at the expense of your morality, your ethics, and your soul. But my goodness, are you going to be filthy rich? Of course. Uh, yeah, it's a, we've hit on a couple spots, and you know, I will point out that Tom, who's currently in the comments now. Tom, again, great to have you here. We've done a couple shows as well as myself and Sean talking about the big beautiful bill. And look, I mean, it is one of those things. I'm certainly not an economist nor an expert, but it is one of those things to where, I guess, in the simple way of putting it, it is astonishing how how you have people in a very simple way that are like, you know how we're going to get out of this. You know how we're just going to fix things? Like, we're just going to take magic marker and we're just going to fix things, right? Like, we're gonna put all these things in one spot, okay? And what we're then going to do is we're going to obscure some other bills that we put in here. We're going to highlight the primary bills that we want, and then on top of that, we're going to get out of debt by spending such an egregious amount of money that it can't help but not prosper. And let us not forget the $1 trillion that we just put towards the military not long ago. Certainly that's not going to have any long-term ramifications whatsoever, and as my buddy Mark here from Centerline Systems has said he's brought up numerous times on his podcast and the podcast me and him used to have together, we have to consider the second, third, and fourth order of effects. And there is a term that applies not only domestically, but especially as it pertains to foreign issues. It's called blowback. It's a term that seems to be a very dirty word to so many people, but blowback and the order of effects is, wow, does it have a way to change the landscape? And And they frame it in such a way, especially with this bill, the spending bill, the one that everybody's just like, oh, it's going to fix so many things. We're going to prosper so much. We're going to, it's just going to be great. Low prices. Okay. Look, I mean, we're going to have just the greatest economy in the world. Okay. Maybe I enhanced my inner Trump there for a moment. It's going to be huge. Okay. It's going to be the greatest thing. All right. Where we can't fail, you know? Um, Everybody acts surprised when all of a sudden things start falling apart. And all of these, again, these promises, and I love that Tom brought up Horton's Law. All of these good promises, the happy promises, start start not being fulfilled, right? And there's several reasons why. But then you have all the bad things and the negative things that seem to really just come to the surface. And it shouldn't be to anybody's surprise. Um, there's a number of things to not like about the triple B. Okay, the big beautiful dumpster fire, or the big beautiful, as I've called it before, um, the big what is it, the big beautiful bag of bullshit or something like that. I think I added one B to it, but it is amazing to me how some people just bought it lock, stock, and barrel. The same thing is, it's the same reaction as the Epstein thing. Look, I think in order to get better, we have to first recognize that there's a problem. And what I want people to realize is, like, in highlighting some of these issues, there's so many other issues that we haven't even touched on. I haven't even talked about immigration, because that's another thing in and of itself, and in the proposed potential amnesty for some of these people, and the conversation around that, whether you're for it, against it, whatever the case is, and some of the other ensuing issues. But the point is like, there's a lot wrong here, and we can't keep our eyes closed to it. We can't just sit by and ignore that these things aren't happening. We can't just sit there and accept the fact that they're not even attempting anymore to fulfill some of these mandates or these promises, but they don't even care to, seemingly. And even if they say that they do, we take a back burner. We take a back burner to their incentives, their donors, and we take a back burner to different countries. One of them, again, I'll bring it up. One of them is Israel. And it's not being a douchebag to all Israelis or anything like that. I'm talking about the government specifically. We are so tied to the hip with them, that we have literally taken a back burner to the government of Israel. I mean, it's the only people that find the magnifying and questioning of these issues as a problem are the people that don't want you to know it's a problem, and the people that are part of the problem, right? Like these people are actively kicking the can down the road. They're perpetuating this I don't even know if it's the right word, this despotism, right? And we're supposed to question authority. We're supposed to question the status quo. We're supposed to question things that kind of jump out at us and be like, wow, like, I don't know about this one. Let's go through the sheet. We're looking through the sheet. No, this doesn't line up. This isn't, the sheet, section 1, clause, whatever, it's like, no, this doesn't check out. And it's amazing, because if you do that, especially if you bring up Washington's farewell address and you talk about entangling alliances and, having favoritism towards certain countries, or an overwhelming dislike of some countries, my goodness, are you just the most unpatriotic and anti-American person in the world, by quoting one of the most patriotic and American people ever to exist? He was there. He was there. Like, him and the founding fathers and the founding mothers and so many other people that died and bled to give us a better potential future. Quoting them somehow is like, and and airing their grievances and amplifying the things that they thought would lead to a despotism and a tyranny. It, that's un-American? That's unpatriotic? Please. I'll tell you what's un-American and what's unpatriotic: blindly following people because they say nice things and they tell you what you want to hear. They read you the bedtime story at night and tell you everything's going to be okay, that there's no monster under the bed, when in reality, the monster under the bed is exactly the person reading you the story. I mean, it is, it's almost, I hate to even say it, but it's comedy that writes itself. Oh, man. It's, yeah, Tom brings up a fantastic point. You can't criticize those who rule you. It's illegal in Russia to criticize the Russian government, illegal in Iran to criticize the Iranian government, and it's becoming illegal in the US to criticize Israel. Oh, oh, that's a banger. That's a banger. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself, really. I mean, look at how many lawmakers caved in the fact of like, oh, well, you can't say this. You're automatically an anti-Semite. A Semite if you say this. You can't criticize. You can't do this. How dare you? It's our greatest ally. Wow. Genuinely amazing. And this administration just goes right along with it. They don't question it. You know, there's moments to where it's like, oh, 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 is he gonna do the thing? You know, like, is he going to question it? And then it's just like, nope. No, we're not going to question this. We're not going to even question the status quo. We're not going to question the vector of power. It's not going to happen. It just, man, there's so much to touch on. I don't want to harp on it too much longer. We're already in the 42nd minute here. But what I do want to say is this isn't me being negative, but it's trying to air out these issues, right? It's trying to bring more light in conjunction with so many other people who are passionate and want to see us succeed. I want us to succeed as a country. I want us to be successful. I don't want people to fail. I don't want people to do horribly, but if they fail and they do horribly, then let them fail and do horribly on their own merits. Let them fail. And stop subsidizing, stop padding, stop cushioning in praising bad behavior. And then to have the audacity to turn around and point the finger at your fellow American for pointing out bad behavior and saying, oh, you're un-American? How dare you? Trust the plan? My goodness, where have we seen that before? Where you can't even question the plan. I mean, how long is it going to be before they put you against a wall or put you in a gulag or have the brown shirts come to your door? How long is it going to be before you get put into a place that nobody even knows exists? I mean, I could go on and on. I don't want us to fail, but if we're going to fail under the weight of our merits and our morals and our ethics, then perhaps maybe we need to do that in order to reset the compass. I don't have the answer to that, but I do want us to succeed. I want liberty to succeed. I do want to localize liberty, and I want to see the flourishing of small communities and big communities alike. And I want to see things get better. And I do think that there is some hope. I do think that there are small pockets of resistance, if you will. We are starting to see the younger generation become more traditional. We are starting to see a changing of opinion. We are starting to see people become a little bit more aware. And we are starting to see people question things just a bit more than they did. And it's not much, but sometimes it doesn't take much to light, even to blow up the smallest ember into something that is truly ferocious and fiery. But in saying that, those of us who are old enough, those of us who have families, those of us who want to have families, we have got to prepare not only ourselves, but the future for this battle, especially our future. What kind of future do we want to leave for our future posterity? What future do we want to leave or give them a chance to gain? I mean, we have to figure this out. We have to have the honest conversation, but it starts with recognizing the issues. And I hate to say it, perhaps maybe the United States needs to go through a 12-step program. But in order to do that, we have to first admit that we have problems, serious problems, and we have to be honest about it and point out the bad behavior when it happens and praise the good behavior when it happens. So we can create some sense of a moral compass, an ethical compass, a compass that we can guide ourselves with, the compass of liberty. So it's not all hopeless, but there's a lot of bad things happening. And I think that we have to continue nipping at the buds. We have to continue being agitating. We have to continue being that thorn in the side. And we always have to. Because if we don't, I mean, we've seen where it gets us and we're seeing where it's getting us. You and I and so many other people, we have so much power. We have the ability to do things. And when we come together, we can amplify that so much more. So I hope that we continue going in a positive trajectory, at least at the local level. And if we have to localize it for now, then that's what we do. We create our pockets, we create our communities, and we do what we can do within the framework that we have. And we make the difference where it matters. And then down the road, hopefully, we have set a proper foundation for our future. But this administration, they're not doing any of that. Matter of fact, this administration doesn't care about your foundation. They don't care about what you voted for, seemingly. They're not interested in actually solving the problems. They'd rather sweep it under the rug, do what they're told, and do what their donors and their allies expect of them, with the ire of acting like they're independent, like they have their own thought process, and like they actually support the American people. We have to take that power back. And there's so many ways that we can do that, but we have to become active, we have to become educated, and we have to take this seriously. I'm going to read through some of the comments, and then I'm going to wrap it up here. I appreciate everybody stopping in, and let me address a few things here real quick. Top 5 issues Centerline Systems puts out. The economy, terrorism, national defense, immigration, reestablishing our constitution, rule of law, term limits, and the Fed. Yeah, really sick, he says. But the Fed could be part of the economy. So, well, I would say that it's the Fed has tendrils that go in many places, and it has definitely done the thing to the economy. And that, maybe we can have another episode where Tom comes back on, and maybe we can rant about about the Fed and currency once again, because I always love those conversations. I tend to learn from them. So, if Tom, if you're not busy one of these weekends soon, I'd love to have you back for that. Learn me something. Could it be that we have outlived our usefulness and the elite wish to do away with the grand experiment that was the United States? I mean, I think when you look at empires, and I'll say this, I think empires, when they get so bloated, when they get so out of control, they overstretch themselves, they spend into oblivion, they accrue unruly amounts of debt when they become basically so large that they can't sustain themselves. I think it's inevitable that you're going to have something that falls apart. And look, at the end of the day, I mean, we've seen historically too that elites aren't insulated from this. This whole thing can drastically alter their life, and I don't necessarily think that it's in a way that that they perceive it's going to go. Yeah, you might be able to hide out in your bunker for a while, but I'm here to tell you, at some point, you will reap what you sow in this life or the next. So. Yeah, localize liberty and become part of the real resistance. So there's a company called Wardall, and they're based out of Canada. They're more of a Christian oriented group, and they have a flag. Been meaning to get one for a long time, but they've always been out of stock, and I love it because it kind of lends itself kind of to what you're saying. And yes, absolutely, localized liberty become part of that functional resistance, right? The functional resistance. But they're one of the sayings they have is support your local insurgency. Now, Mark, you and I have talked about this and what insurgencies can be. An insurgency, it doesn't have to be a dirty word. It can be that spirit of rebellion, that spirit of resistance from people who live in these communities, um, that face the overarching, um, you know, empire that the federal government has, this control the federal government has. I mean, if we're going to have our own communities, I mean, to some degree, there's got to be some fight, and I've always loved that saying, "Support your local insurgency." I've never looked at that as a dirty thing. Um, and I don't think that it always has or carries a negative connotation. So yes, absolutely, I think very much so, and I do believe in that principle. I do believe in that method, if you will. We have to localize liberty. We have to come back to our roots, and we have to support each other at the local level, because I do think that's where it's going to end up eventually. I think invariably it's bound to come down to that level, whether we want it to or not. And I think if we can get a head start on that, and we can augment some of our own economies, we can start to divest out of certain areas, and become a little bit more self-sustaining. I think we're just going to be the better for it. So a Paul Revere episode, holy crap, I don't even have a horse. I'll try and find one though. Maybe I'll call him, Buckeye or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see. Funny thing. I have been horseback riding. Haven't gone for a long time. Would love to do it once again. And yeah, no, maybe this was a Paul Revere episode. Perhaps. But I don't want to inflate my own mind there. So, but thank you. Uh, Thomas Edlum, Arnold, I'll be back. Well, sounds like a game plan, Tom. I would love to have you back, and I really look forward to throwing around that conversation more. Your wealth of knowledge, so I look forward to that, and we will. Yeah, I'll shout out to you here this weekend and see if we can pin a date down. So I appreciate everybody stopping in this evening. Thank you so much for coming into the episode. If you found this interesting, if there's something you want to chime off on, or if you want to sound off on, let me know in the comments below. I do go through and I do check the comments. I get updates on who comments, when they comment. Like and share if you don't mind. That would be great. I'd love to get the message out to more people. But I will do the very best that I can to respond to every single person that throws a comment in the comment section. And let's keep the conversation going. And I believe. If I haven't, I do. I think I have a Telegram channel listed in the description. I'll have to take a look. But if you want to be a part of the conversation after the lives, and you want to carry on this conversation, that may be the place for you to do it. So I'll do some double checking. I'll see what I got in the description below. But for sure, go check out the Instagram. I am on Instagram. I do try to have consistent updates. I try to let people know what the shows are going to be, when they're going to be. I'm pretty consistent with the shows, so you won't be too far off of time. It's usually either 1700 or 1800 Central Daylight Time, commie time. So there's not really much of a variance. But thank you again so much, everybody, for coming out, watching the show. I really, really appreciate you guys. And remember to always carry that message and that torch of liberty, no matter where you go. We have to light the path. We have to stay strong. We have to stay in the fight, not only for ourselves, but for our future posterity. So with that being said, take care, God bless, and we will see you on Saturday.